a bunch of fantastic insights from her life and work in Japan. So welcome, Nina. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me on here today. I'm so excited to be here.
That's awesome. You could join. And a shout out to people watching on Twitter, Periscope, on Facebook, on
Thank
Twitch,
you so much for having me on here today. Whoops, there
and
we go.
on YouTube. So we've got a bunch of people on different channels watching us. Please make sure and write your comments and questions while we're going, and we'll try to fit you in and get your questions and comments seen to and answered, right?
Yes.
Nina, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, so my name is Nina. I am from Tokyo, and I grew up in the United States. I'm Japanese and American,
Where in
and
the States did you grow up?
I grew up in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and I went to college in Seattle. So Pacific Northwest is my home. I love it very much. I've been all over the world, and I still think it's the most beautiful place in the world. Yeah, and
I've been to Seattle. I haven't been to Portland, but I
mm,
have family in both places. Fantastic area of the States.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is so
Do
nice.
you miss it? What do you miss? The food?
I miss my cats for
Oh,
sure.
you left your
uh,
cats.
Yeah, they're with my parents, and I really love the summers there. It's really I usually go back in August or so every year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really nice to leave the humid Japan behind and go over to the breezy Pacific Northwest to my parents' home with lots of land, just relaxing. So yeah, I miss that.
Yeah, that's great. I just read about some crazy event that happens in Portland every year, the Naked Cycle Ride.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
Because they were
Yeah.
wondering whether to go with it or not because of COVID, right? They're wondering
Oh
if you
yeah.
can you social distance and be naked and cycle. I don't know. It's a really important question.
Right, right, right. Yeah, they have some really funny events there, and the naked bike ride is definitely one of them. I've actually
Oh,
never seen it though,
no?
surprisingly.
It seems
Yeah.
like everybody would want to be out watching it at least. Whether
Yeah,
you
a lot of my friends have participated in it since becoming adults. It's but I was only there until I was 18 and then went off to college in Seattle and then moved right back to Japan. So I've actually haven't spent much time in Portland since becoming an adult, which is a bummer,
I
I guess, a little bit.
yeah, I would think it might be more popular during the time of COVID because you could cover your face. You could be
Right.
naked but be mysterious at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So let's start talking about your Peace Boat experience. How did you get interested in Peace Boat and sign up and everything?
So I feel like Peace Boat is something that the international community, everyone in the international community in Japan knows about.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people hear about it. You see the posters for, cruising around the world for so and so yen, like all over izakaya pubs and stuff in Japan. But it's not very known overseas. Surprisingly, I actually found out about Peace Boat when I was in college from a coworker of mine during my part-time job. So an American girl told me, "Hey, I know you're thinking about what you want to do after college. I heard about this thing called Peace Boat." So yeah, I heard about it 6 years ago
Oh, wow.
now.
It
But
just
then,
kept it in the back of your brain for a while.
yeah, exactly, and it just stayed with me. And then I moved back. I moved to Japan and started seeing everywhere about Peace Boat. And when I was in transition, thinking about leaving my last company, which was a publishing firm, I came back to the idea of what if I took a few months to do Peace Boat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went through the application process. It's a pretty rigorous process, and you have testing to see how your interpretation skills are.
Okay.
And I don't have an interpretation background. I've never done it professionally, but
But you're very
growing up,
bilingual. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, so because of that, I said, let's just try it out, see how it goes. And I got through, and turns out most of us who were volunteer interpreters, some of us had an interpreting background, but a lot of us are new to it, or grew up bilingual, or self-taught English or Spanish, or Chinese, whatever the language combinations were.
Mm-hmm.
So the boat itself, there are about 1,200 passengers,
Mm-hmm.
and an additional 300 crew members who work on the ship, and then there were about 70 of us staff members, including 20 of us who are the volunteer interpreters.
Okay.
So it's a small group within this ship, and we became very close, like a family, and worked, day and night together for 3.5 months.
Mm-hmm. Is this the group here all doing, looks like a C sign? Can you see? Is that your Peace Boat group?
Yeah. So yeah, the C stands for CC. So our title on the ship is communication coordinator. So we're not just interpreters, we're not just translators. We are really bridging the gap in communication,
Mm-hmm.
because you have people on the ship who only speak Japanese. You have people who only speak Chinese, or only English. And we have guest lecturers come on board from different ports, from different countries, to tell us and lecture the people on board educate the people on board about different topics.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are really bridging that gap to be able to have everyone be able to communicate with each other, whether it is in those lecture settings or just on a daily basis when we're having a meal together.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really there to help people be able to connect with one another regardless of the language barrier.
That's such a great skill, because being an interpreter is not just about finding the right word, but it's often about finding the way to say it best in another language, right? That'll connect to people on the same level.
Yeah, exactly. And because a lot of us didn't have a professional background, we were really nervous about, how are we going to be able to interpret this well.
Mm-hmm.
But our leaders told us from day one, the most important thing is conveying the right message.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to get every single word translated, interpreted, but getting that message out that the speaker is trying to convey is the most important part of being a communication coordinator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So was that the first time you said you'd done some interpreting and translation?
Mm-hmm. Wow. It was.
Good training.
Yeah, it was really great. And it's interesting because when people ask me why I wanted to go on Peace Boat, I think because you're traveling the world, and of course, like traveling the world, that's awesome. But I think a lot of people, I don't know, I think for me, it was actually to become better at Japanese, because even though it is my first language and I grew up bilingual, English has become my stronger language. And for me, going on Peace Boat, traveling the world, and meeting people from all over the world, but spending a lot of time with Japanese people on the ship and speaking Japanese, that was me going back to my roots and really reconnecting with that aspect of my identity.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Really good.
I think I've gotten better at Japanese through the experience.
Probably at English too. I mean, it just deepens your understanding of language and communication in general, right? Having to go across. So good job. I don't know if I could ever do that. Big kudos. Here's another photo. You have Tübingen, it says.
Tübingen. Oh yeah. So this is one of the groups that came on the ship. We had the people you see in the photo, they are grad students from a college in Germany, and they are studying peace and conflict studies. So they came on board to discuss Germany's reconciliation with the past, and talking with the people on the ship, who have gone through the World War II in Japan or wherever they were, and talking about how countries can reconcile with their past. And so that was a really wonderful experience to be able to connect these students from Germany with people from Japan, and it was really fun to get to know them. We spent a day in Portugal together, in Lisbon, and they were, I thought, a really good example of how not only did we interpret for them during the lectures, but we really spent a lot of time with them on the ship. So, playing games with them and helping them just interact daily with people from Japan, promising that they'll come visit Japan one day, and people being like, "Oh, you need to come to Hiroshima where I live, and we can go to the Peace Memorial together." And just having those conversations and being able to be a part of that with them was really wonderful.
That's fantastic. Really interesting. And so you're not only traveling with people, but you're also talking about peace. You're learning more about different cultures. It's not just about language,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's
Yes.
very
Yeah.
deep. And then where did you go? So here's a picture from Venezuela.
Yes. So we went to 23 different countries, 25 different ports.
Mm-hmm.
And Venezuela is the one that really stuck with me because you only really hear about Venezuela in last few years in a kind of a negative light in the news. And so I had my own misunderstanding of it as well, my ignorance being saying that, why are we going to this country that sounds so dangerous right now?
Mm.
I don't understand why Peace Boat is taking us there. And I think because of that, it was really influential because we spent 2 days there. And this photo is from this friendship concert that we had with locals. And we showed them, how to do calligraphy or wear kimonos. And we had people go on stage and sing and dance, both the locals and people from Peace Boat. And it was so wonderful to see the connection and how the people there are, still just so kind. And it made me kind of gave me a wake up call and be like, regardless of the political climate of countries, people are still going to be what makes it. And the people there were just so awesome. So yeah, it was a really great experience.
That's great. And were you helping them, or you guys as staff were helping them do the calligraphy? Is that their names?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are the kids' names, and it was really great. Regardless of the language barrier, again, we were able to just play with them and take photos together, eat together, and things like that. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, great. And let's see. On the boat itself, how was it traveling around by boat? Did you get seasick at all? Were you okay?
I was really lucky. Some people were seasick a majority of the time. I actually didn't get seasick once. And I actually really liked the rocking of the ship. It helped me sleep at night, and I actually really missed it when I got off the ship. The first few nights off the ship, I had trouble sleeping. I was like, I wish I had that swaying back.
Wow, that's lucky. And this is a beautiful photo that you took on the ship of a rainbow and the clouds.
Yeah, this is the view that we got most days, and it was just so wonderful to just go to the back of the ship. That was the view while you eat your breakfast, and this rainbow was near Hawaii. So Hawaii was our first stop, Honolulu, then Hilo, but it was it's just really awesome. We got to see dolphins, whales, turtles, just swimming right next to the ship. We saw beautiful, beautiful sunsets. Of course, we got some stormy days as well. And we got to see the Northern Lights aurora around Iceland as well. So it's really great that this is the view that we got every day.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And you just,
there's been,
it just reminds you.
Yeah, it reminds
Sorry,
you. Go ahead.
It reminds you that you're so small in this world, and we're just a tiny ship traveling around.
Yeah, definitely. So. Once you're in the middle of the ocean, you can't see any land. You do feel very small, don't you? Yeah, amazing. And you had some environmentally activism type activities while you were on the trip. Here you've got an ocean cleanup, right?
Yes. So Peace Boat is a partner of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. So we do have a lot of activities and lectures on board that are on par with the goals of the SDGs. And at some of the ports, you either can participate in just a regular sightseeing sort of tour or some sort of community building tour, so you can go and meet locals and whatnot. And we also have some tours where you can join that are on par with the SDGs. So for me, and for us interpreters, we're the ones who stick with the tour guide and interpret for the group.
Mm-hmm.
And in France, I was the interpreter for the ocean cleanup trip. So we got to go with a local nonprofit called Merter, and go to a beach with them and clean up, learn about what the organization does. And it was interesting because it wasn't just picking up the trash that comes to the beach and then just throwing it out. They actually keep the trash and study it, research it, and see what kind of trash there is, where it's coming from, and things like that. So it was really, really cool to be able to connect with the local organization and learn about what they're doing, and also see the reality of it, because we were cleaning for a few hours, but you clean for a few minutes and then more waves come in and more trash comes in. So it was really cool
I
to
hear
see
you.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've done we haven't been doing it now because of Corona, but we were regularly doing at least once a month. And during the summer, we have the big beach cleanups because it's warmer.
Mhm.
And we
Right.
had a big crew. We collected 30 bags and we were like,
Wow.
oh, great job. And we turn around and the tide just brings it all, a new wave full in. And you're like, this
Wow.
problem is too big for us, right? So, of course,
Yeah.
everybody around the world needs to be at least trying it sometimes, because then you realize how daunting of a huge problem it is, that it's
Yeah.
not something you're going to solve one day at the beach a year, right?
Right. Yeah, it is a bigger issue that we have to be more conscientious of our own trash that we throw out from our homes, or if we go to other places, if we go to the beach and things. So hopefully that sort of mindset can
Yeah,
change so that we don't see the trash to begin with in the water.
definitely. And did you guys have like certain policies, like refilling your own water bottles, for example, or?
Yeah, so it was really great. On the ship, we don't have plastic straws, and there are no plastic water bottles. We have refill stations, and everyone is encouraged to have their own water bottle.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, it was really great to see the efforts that Peace Boat and the ship are doing together. And yeah, and they were really vegan, vegetarian friendly as well. Really friendly to different types of diets. The vegan food was actually fantastic.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so
That's rare
yeah,
for Japan. That's awesome.
yeah, and I've heard that they've actually gotten better over the years too. I heard about some stories of vegetarian vegan friends who were on Peace Boat years back, and they said, "Oh, they just gave me half a head of cabbage."
I've
And
had that meal. I've had,
yeah,
at the steakhouse, and everybody's got steaks, and they give me just a plate of cabbage, serious raw cabbage. That's it.
wow,
And
crazy.
not good enough. Sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, it was really great. They've gotten better, and so I give a huge nod to the cooking crew, the chef, everyone. I had like lasagna with like the soy meat crumbles,
Oh
and
yeah.
they did like a nikujaga, Japanese dish, but with the soy meat, and using vegetable bouillon. So they were really getting creative with it
Uh-huh.
and showing what kind of dishes they could make for different dietary needs, but still making it taste delicious and look delicious as well.
Yeah.
So I
That's
should have actually put a few photos of that up, because I took a photo of my food every day.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll love to have a look at those later. You've got some great travel photos. This one is, where were you? You want to describe it?
Yeah, so this is in Tikal in Guatemala.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and the red vest is what we wore as the tour guide interpreters.
Mm-hmm.
And Tikal was really special. We were there for 2 days, and I was lucky. I was chosen as one of the few to go from where our boat was docked, take a tiny plane to the ruins, and stay in a really lovely resort, and be the interpreter for a group of 40. And we had the same tour guide both days. He was fantastic. It was really lovely to get to know him. He's Mayan descent, so he taught us a lot about the history coming from his own family's perspective, and learning really about the history and the culture of the area, as well as Guatemala, as well as the Mayans, and have some really great food. And yeah, it was really cool. That was towards the beginning of our 3.5 month journey. But because I spent 2 days with the 40 or so passengers from Peace Boat, I ended up being really good friends with a lot of them. And I have some people from that trip that I still call and check up on, that I call my mom and dad. So it's really great to foster that sort of relationship as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And you had this photo on your profile for a while. Is that on your travels with Peace Boat or a different travel to Egypt?
Yes, Egypt is also with Peace Boat, and that was towards the end. We were there. That was, yeah, Egypt. After Egypt was Thailand. So we actually were at sea for 2 whole weeks without seeing land.
Mm-hmm.
That was the longest time we went without docking anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to go through the piracy area after Egypt. So it was really interesting. We actually had to have a drill and learn about what to do if we had pirates come and take over the ship. And we had to cover all the curtains at night because we couldn't let any light out.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so yeah, because if they see a light from a ship, then they could come and attack. So it was actually so we had an area for 3 days out of the 2 weeks where we couldn't have any light that went out. And usually on the upstairs dock, they have some safety lights on, but during those 3 days, everything was turned off. So it was actually great to go stargazing because it was just the whole sky. It was full of stars, and saw a lot of shooting stars. It was really cool. So we had to be quiet and we had to be careful, but we could still be out there to see the stars.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you find Egypt? Because as a woman, there must be certain issues, right?
Yeah. We were only there for 8 hours or so. That's
Mm-hmm.
usually about 8 to 10 hours is how long we are at places. Besides some of the places we stayed overnight. But and we were with the tour guide the whole time. I didn't feel very uncomfortable or different.
Mm-hmm.
I think our ship, we docked in Port Said, but our ship was the first ship to come in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And the last tour ship that came by was actually also Peace Boat, like two trips ago. So it was a local area that don't see a lot of non-Egyptian people around, non-locals around, and so people were kind. People wanted to come up and take photos together, and it wasn't, asking for money or anything. It was just like kids on their smartphones who wanted to get a selfie together, and I didn't feel like it was too dangerous or scary being a woman, or being, looking white passing or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I traveled years ago to Morocco, and I found it a really wild experience. Of course, covering up, being as respectful as you can be,
Yeah.
but also how men won't make eye contact with you when you're trying to
Mm.
talk, and women also wouldn't make eye contact with you, local women. So it's like you can't really connect to any locals as a woman,
Right.
and that was really hard, like a real culture shock. I don't know if I could
Wow.
stay there much longer, but
Interesting. And were
yeah.
you traveling by yourself?
No, I was with my now husband, And so he would have to communicate with everybody. And I mean, that was a long time ago. Maybe it's improved.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I would feel comfortable being by myself in some countries, just because of the different sort of attention or some different expectations of women, and some places might not want women traveling by themselves. But yeah, I was with a group the whole time we were in Egypt, so I didn't feel too, I don't know, too different. And I actually brought cat food with me from Japan for for Egypt, and I was just walking around feeding cats like by the pyramid. So I was interacting with local cats. That was my
So
my joy.
you're a bit of a cat lover, huh? What are
Uh,
your cats called at
um,
home?
my cats' names are Fabio and Pinot Noir.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so they got little bougie names.
And
But yeah, that's one of my things. I love going around the world and interacting with cats.
yeah, that's awesome. And this next picture, I think you're maybe on Peace Boat, but you're talking about HAFU, which is another topic I wanted to explore with you today.
Yeah, so on Peace Boat, we have the professional guest lecturers come on board, but people are also, passengers and people on the ship are also allowed to plan their own events and workshops and talks. So I did a few workshops and talks regarding identity, racial identity, and HAFU identity. And so it was a really great time. It was my first time really, I think, going out there and designing a lecture of my own and putting it out there. And it was really well received, I think. And this photo shows the one where I talk about my own experience being half Japanese. And the talk was actually titled something like the truth of being HAFU. And so I talked about how Japan's media portrays half Japanese people and the realities of it, and how it's not all all positive, that there are struggles that people go through being mixed race or half Japanese. And there were about maybe 60 or so people who came to the event on the ship, and afterwards I had a lot of people telling me, oh, I never knew that that's what you or people in your community have had to go through. I thought being HAFU was just all great. So it was really cool for me to see people understand and maybe view half Japanese people in a different light, that hopefully they can take the lessons and take the talk that I had back to Japan and be able to interact with mixed race people in Japan a little differently.
And then you went on to start a support group, HAFU Ladies. Do you want to introduce that a little bit?
Yeah, so HAFU Ladies is a group that I started in the fall of 2018, and it came out of I felt like there needed to be a community just for women. There are a lot of HAPA and HAFU related Facebook groups and communities out there, but I didn't see any that were just for women. And I started feeling like there are some topics that I would really like to talk about with other mixed race Japanese women, but I don't feel comfortable posting about it on these larger groups. And so out of that need, I created a community for HAFU Ladies, and we are nearly at 800 members on Facebook.
Oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah, and
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been really, really wonderful to grow that community, and I strive for the community to be a safe space, as well as a place for empowerment, and for us to educate one another and ourselves, and to embrace our identity. So before the COVID-19 happened, I was only really able to think about doing, brunches and get-togethers in person in Tokyo. But actually, with the shutdown happening, it was such a fantastic time to take our events online. So now we're doing events, at least 2 events or so each week. and having discussions. We had one about our racial identity and just identity in general, and the intersection with what's happening with COVID-19 around the world. And we had another about the intersection of language and mixed heritage, mixed race. And we have done weekly yoga sessions and dance classes. So we're doing a really good mixture of educational things and fun activities. We're doing onnomi, online nomikai kind of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really a great way to reach out to the global community that we do have in HAFU Ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this this photo also is the bigger, larger community of the HAFU group that we have. Me and another lady from HAFU Ladies, we do a monthly event in Tokyo called HAFU and Friends. And this is for the greater community, not just women, to come together, our friends, family to come together. And we have it hosted at an Irish pub in Yoyogi called An Solace, as well as Good Heavens in Shimokitazawa, and that's where this photo was taken. And and we have about 80 or so people show up each time, so it's really cool to
really good
to get out. Yeah.
And I think, like you had mentioned before that you did get some negative feedback. Can you talk about that a little bit? How it makes you,
Yeah, so I think there is a lot of stigma or some uncomfortableness around the term HAFU. And that's mostly the any negative comments I get, or just just talks. People want to discuss the word, and I completely respect everyone's opinion and understanding. As a half Japanese person myself, for me, I'm not speaking for the whole community because everyone views it differently. But for me, it is a word that I can identify myself with and find a community in, and take back the meaning from when it was used in a derogatory term. And I think with saying that, I think my experience as a millennial, someone in their late 20s, is different from someone who grew up in Japan post-war, who is mixed race Japanese, and having to, have that word used against them. And so I understand that and respect that. And I think everyone's relationship with the word is very different. But in saying that, I think a lot of us do also find a community in the word and find a way to call ourselves. And so, for me and for the people in the community, in that sense, it is what unites us.
Yeah.
And I hope people can see the positive aspects of people finding the community stemming from the word. I get a lot of women in HAFU Ladies, when I ask them how they found the group or how they joined, they say, I just typed in HAFU women and this came up.
So it's obviously a good term because it's so clear, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's wonderful.
So,
and you're supporting each other, all of you guys in your group. You have particular things that you're dealing with that people outside your group don't really understand 100%. So, of course, having this group where you have this common theme, of course, supporting each other, and it's a good thing.
It is. I hope people see it as that. It's a really fun community. I think the other aspect is I've had some parents especially tell me, my like with older daughters, they'll say, oh, my daughter's confident in her identity, so she doesn't need a group like that. And I thought about these comments a lot, and I'm like, that's so interesting that sometimes parents or people themselves think that they don't need a community like this because they're not struggling with their identity. But I don't think you need to struggle with your identity in order to be a part of a community like this. It can be just a way to connect, and you don't have to go through hardship in order to feel the need to be part of a group or a community. So I hope people see that and understand that you can come from a place of confidence. You can come from a place of just wanting to make new friends and hang out, and it can be a community like that too.
Yeah, and it's in a very positive way. It's supportive, and it's important for you guys to support each other. But it's not saying anything bad about people who don't fit, right? And I think
Right.
that is maybe the immediate reaction why some people feel negative about it, is like, why can't I join? That's unfair, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
That's
that's
true.
but that's about them. That's not about you. So
Yeah.
there's also some really beautiful photos from your peace boat. To get back to is this the Northern Lights that you saw?
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So we were in what they call the Aurora Belt
Uh-huh.
for about 6 days. So we had 6 days of opportunities to see the light, and it was cold, of course, but we would stay out all night on the deck and hope to get a glimpse of the aurora.
Yeah.
And so this photo actually that I learned while I was on the ship is that you can't actually see that much, that like as much as the photo with your bare eyes. You have to take
Oh.
a photo with the shutter speed at a certain speed, really slow, so that it captures the light. But in saying that, with your own eyes, you can still get the hues, and I saw like pink and green, and so you can see it, and you literally see it dancing. It's so
Mm-hmm.
like the movement is just so beautiful. So we would stay out there with like a hot chocolate in hand and just
Oh.
wait to get a glimpse. And during that time, we have staff members who do stay out all night so that they could report back if they catch a glimpse of the aurora. They have to report to the front desk, and then even if it's 3 a.m., they'll make an announcement over the speaker. So you'll be
Yeah.
sleeping,
You don't want to
and
miss
they'll be
it.
like, yeah, so they'll be like, to the starboard side, you can see the aurora right now. And people, if they're sleeping and want to go see it, they'll put their jackets on, get their cameras, and like run up to the deck
That's
to catch.
amazing. Yeah.
So it was a cool time.
Yeah, I've met Japanese people actually who have flown during like a 3-day vacation, flown across the world to go and see the lights and come back like just for a night. But
Yeah,
you can't schedule it like that. So sometimes they
exactly.
don't get to see it. So being able to
Exactly.
see it, what a special experience. How wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. And seeing it from a ship too, I think is just so different from being on land
Yeah.
and catching it. So
Because
yeah, it was a very, very
you don't have the light interference from cities or
Mhm.
anything, right?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, how
So yeah, it's a
special.
very unique experience.
So was that using your camera like on a slow aperture to catch that?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, this photo, I think I took it. I can't remember because we were sharing, all of us are sharing photos with each other as
Uh-huh.
well. But yeah, I actually learned how to do it with my camera, and so I was able to get quite a few wonderful photos with my own camera as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes with a really good camera you can have such great shots, and then sometimes for some reason, maybe because of the technology, with your phone, it actually captures it better.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I
See.
was able to get some with my iPhone actually, and my roommate, she has a really awesome Huawei phone, and it takes like great photos. So we actually got a lot of really, really good Aurora photos with her camera, her phone as well.
Yeah, I
So that
don't
was fun
know.
to play around with.
Sometimes the technology can fix it for you. We
Yeah.
have one comment. Selena Hoy says, "Hi Nina."
Oh, hi, Selena. Thanks for tuning in. She's a fellow HAFU lady and also from Portland and lives in Tokyo. So it's
Wonderful.
great to connect on so many
Yeah,
levels.
really fantastic. There was one other photo from the boat about the SDGs that you guys were working on. So you said you had some seminars.
Yeah. So yeah, it is really cool because we'll have different themes for the day or for the week, and talk about different aspects of the SDGs. What are our biggest concerns with the world, and how can us as individuals or as a collective group, what can we do to help? And so it was really cool. This was from an introductory event we had that I was just a participant in, not interpreting. But we learned about the different SDG themes and which ones struck a chord with us and which ones we want to work towards or help, or So there were quite a few teachers, for example, from Japan on the ship, so they were really keen on working with the education for all.
That's great.
So yeah,
And
talking
then
about that.
after you did your SDG study, when you visited each different destination, did it kind of click with you more about which targets they need to work on or which ones they're doing well or something?
I think so.
SDGs are hard to get your head around,
It is.
I think
Yeah, I feel like it's a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the SDG logo everywhere.
Yeah.
On commercials and on posters.
I have to say
But
too much, right?
yeah,
Like you see people with the badge for their company and you're like, oh, what are you doing for SDGs? And they're like, oh, I don't know. They just told us to wear the badge. I was like, no, not good enough. To wear the badge, you need to know what you're doing. Like like you said, it's a hot topic now. But come on, you got to at least be thinking about it if you're going to say that we're doing it. So
right.
in that way, it's kind of sometimes greenwashing. So I'm
Mhm.
so glad that they were doing seminars and you guys really understanding what it is. And then maybe
Yeah,
you can help companies who are interested in it understand how they could do it,
totally.
right?
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, so you have 1,000 or so Japanese people on the ship learning about SDGs, and hopefully some of those people end up coming back to Japan and spreading the word or awareness or educating others or working with others regarding some of the goals. So, that's a little hope. And I think people will start to understand the SDGs more as the months and years go by.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can all collectively work towards something positive.
Definitely. I think so. Yeah. Thank you. Should we move on to some of the travel writing that you've done? You're a great travel writer and a great photographer. You
Thank
went
you.
to Sado Island with German International. And can you tell
Yeah.
us about the experience? And they're actually doing it a bit different this year. You could introduce it to us.
Yeah, so I got to go to Sado Island twice now with German International, and the first time was last August, which was a beautiful time of the year to go. And we went for Earth Celebration, which is their annual music festival on Sado Island, which is in Niigata Prefecture. There is a famous taiko troupe that they're called Kodo, and they're based in Sado, and they have been going on for decades. It's a wonderful troupe of taiko drummers. And so the Earth Celebration is to highlight what they do in their performances. So it's a 3-day long festival. In the evenings, we have the taiko performances. During the day, they have taiko workshops, and you have also like little aspects of the island's culture that you can drive to, go around the island and experience. And it was so cool. I was fortunate enough that when we went the second time, I actually got to go to where the Kodo members live and practice and sit in on one of their practices with John from Only in Japan filming it. So it was really, really wonderful and unique experience to be able to be there with him and with the group and see how rigorously they train and see how passionate everyone there is about the taiko. And I've sometimes seen taiko performances growing up, but really didn't know much about it. And when I went to Earth Celebration and saw it up close and heard it up close, it was like an out of body experience. It was just so powerful. And just over the 3 days, I, started becoming like fangirl of like certain members because you just see the facial expressions and how strongly they're hitting the drums. And I ended up like becoming a really big fan of this one woman who's in the group, and I ended up meeting her when I went back to the island the second time. And I was like, you were like so fantastic last summer, and I got a picture with her, and I got to talk with her, and I was
That's
like
great.
sweating. So yeah, so the Earth celebration is the celebration that happens every year, and with everything going on this year, they've actually decided to move the festival online, which is going to be a really great way to reach a wider audience. And I really hope that people do tune in from around the world and really see what a Japanese taiko troupe can be like and what they do, and just experience it with
Yeah,
them all.
it's an amazing opportunity because usually you would have to buy a ticket, you would have to have accommodation fees. So this is a great chance to see the festival up close and personal with great photography and videography and great music. And then be able, hopefully in the future years, to be able to go and attend in person, right? So
Yeah, I hope.
I was
Yeah,
so glad to hear they're doing it online because I think a lot of people, even last year, it was booked up, right? They weren't able to
mhm,
go. So
yeah, yeah.
there,
I hope that it is a way for people to again reach a wider audience and hopefully inspire people to travel to Sado in the future to see it up close in
yeah.
person.
And I think last year one of the people that came over from the States, he's with Drum TV, right?
Yeah, Drum Talk TV, Dan and Enja. Yeah, it was really cool to be able to go there with them as part of the group, and have them live streaming the event, the taiko performances.
And the costumes and everything look amazing. So that's definitely
Yeah.
something you can check out online this year. And do you have the dates for it, Nina? Do you know?
I believe it's the weekend, the 23rd or so, August 23rd. I could be getting it wrong,
But
but
if
it's
you search on Facebook or if you search on Google, you'll find it Sado Island Earth Festival, is it?
Earth
Earth
celebration.
Celebration. And
Yeah.
you'll find all the information, and then they'll have the live stream links and everything there, right?
Hmm.
Now let's go to your Instagram a little bit. You always take such beautiful photos, and it's interesting because I think now a lot of people are really sad because they had to cancel their trips to Japan. This was
Hmm.
supposed to be such an amazing inbound tourism year with the Olympics and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think the way that you have captured a lot of your travel on Instagram is the way that we will be traveling forward.
Hmm.
A lot of your beautiful photos are without masses of people, right? And
Yeah.
there is no more mass tourism in the future, right? It will have to be more social distance type of tourism. So, do you want to tell us any of the stories from this page you've got?
Yeah. So I've been working as a travel writer since moving here 5 years ago, and I've been very, very fortunate. I've been to over 30, almost 40 prefectures now, and that's certainly more than any of my Japanese family members. So, and I usually just travel with a little backpack and my camera, and yeah, and then just go to really rural parts, have done some homestays, have stayed in some really, cute little towns and things. And yeah, with the first photo up here, that big Buddha, actually, I
Mm-hmm.
really love that story and that place. It's only a 30-minute drive outside of Sapporo in Hokkaido,
Mm-hmm.
up north. But it's this um, Buddha statue in the middle of this lavender field.
Oh, wow.
And when you see drone shots or shots from afar, you see his head, and it's a massive Buddha. You just see his head sticking out in the midst of all these lavender.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's really not known. I was there not during lavender season, but in November a few years ago, and there was nobody else besides me and my friend.
That's
And
amazing.
Yeah, and so it was really, really cool to go somewhere like that. And I tell people about it, and people who have been to Hokkaido don't even know about this place.
No, I've been
And
to Hokkaido. I've
yeah,
never heard of it. I was
yeah,
thinking it was in Kamakura, but it looked different. So yeah, gorgeous.
yeah. And I can't remember the name of it, but usually when I Google it, I just Google Sapporo Big Buddha Lavender,
There
and
you
it comes
go.
up.
Perfect.
So
And
yeah.
it looked like you went to a beautiful onsen as well. Is that like a private onsen you're in?
Yeah, so that is a private bath. Sorry, yeah, private onsen. It's in Shizuoka Prefecture.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some work with Explore Shizuoka, and so I've been lucky to that I've been able to go to Shizuoka quite a few times.
Uh-huh.
And that is at one of the oldest ryokans in Japan. It's been around for hundreds of years. And yeah, they had private onsens that you could rent or use by the hour, and yeah, and it was just really cool. I love being able to see the ryokans. The food was fantastic. The service was, of course, great. And there weren't a lot of other people around. Usually we go for work, on weekdays or something. So it's usually quieter. So we get to chat with the staff a lot more, get to know
Mm-hmm.
them, and get to know the local area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Beautiful. And then you've got some Tokyo, looks like Tokyo shots.
Yeah.
Is that a bookstore in Tokyo?
That is in the Jimbocho Kanda area. They have a lot of secondhand bookstores.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's stacks and stacks and stacks of books. So yeah, it's really cool to see that. And one of the things with what's going on now, I'm really really worried about the little mom and pop shops,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the aspects of Japan that makes it so beautiful and unique. I love going to local little tiny shops and interacting with the owners. And so I really hope there's a way that we can support them during this time, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they can survive it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk later on today at 5 o'clock with Kevin Meyerson, and he's in Karuizawa in Nagano, and he's working with his local businesses, and they're really helping with takeout. So
Oh, great.
supporting over 100 businesses starting to do takeout. So that'll be really fun to talk with him. But that definitely is some way to support the small, medium-sized businesses now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it is really important to have someone coming in to support those businesses, because a lot of the people who are elderly, who are shop owners, they don't know how to go about starting a takeout if it's, if it has to be done through an app or, online and things like that. So hopefully, others who know how to use those platforms can help them.
Yeah. And also people who just realize there's a need. Okay, let's
Mhm.
collaborate. Let's get out there and let's, provide a service. So that's
Right?
fantastic. You've
Yeah.
got some great festival shots. Of course, a lot of festivals are being canceled this year
Mm.
because of Corona. But it's nice we can virtually travel to these festivals with you.
Yeah.
Is this the Kingyo Festival? Where is that?
So that is actually not even a festival, but there is a town called Yanai
Mm-hmm.
in Yamaguchi Prefecture down south. And it's famous for having these goldfish lanterns. And it's just the whole town is lined with them. They're
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. And I got to go down there and take a workshop and make my own lantern, which is actually hanging up in my bedroom. But yeah, I learned how to make the Kingo lantern and put little eyes on it, and yeah, it was really great because the workshop was run by locals, and
Mm-hmm.
it took maybe like an hour or two, so I got to chat with them and make this lantern, and it was harder than it looked, and so they're like
Yeah.
helping me glue things on, and yeah, it's really cute. I love towns that have a theme like that
Mm-hmm.
and keep the old traditions and cultures alive.
Definitely. It'd be nice if someone with know-how and maybe web or social media experience could come in and help these local areas, maybe do online classes like that, or
Mhm.
find some way to do it online and give them a bit of income, but also keep them active and keep kind of
Right.
virtual tourism is the way to go right now, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
You've
Yeah.
you've got some fantastic photos with purple. Is that purple? Is that Satsumimo ice cream? The
It's
purple ice cream
it's a
or ube?
it's actually the wisteria, I think
Uh-huh.
is the name of the flower.
Yeah.
There's a whole
It's
whole
not
park,
it's not
Ashikaga, on the
wisteria
Tochigi
ice cream
Prefecture.
though, is it? Is it ice cream made from
It's
wisteria?
like a floral.
Oh my
Yeah, I
goodness.
don't know if it's like flavoring, but yeah, it had a floral taste that's supposed to be the wisteria. It's like, it's like having cherry blossom sakura flavored things. So it was really good ice cream, but it melted so fast. And so
Oh yeah.
my partner was with me and we're like trying to take photos, but it's like dripping down my hand. So it's the,
Oh,
Instagram versus reality of
yes,
things.
exactly. We've had a comment. Prasanna says, "Thanks for the info on the lavender Buddha in Sapporo. Just looked up on it. Interesting place. Missed it during my last visit to Sapporo." So really great insight. Thanks, Nina.
Yeah, I hope she can go back next time and check it out.
Yeah, for sure. And some beautiful sakura photos. Of course, some people were doing hanami even with the warnings, but
Mm.
it's always good to just go out early before the crowds or late after the crowds and get your solo photos. Solo sakura was a hashtag theme this year, wasn't it?
Ah, nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm actually lucky. When I step out to the front door of my apartment, my entire street is lined with cherry blossom trees.
Oh wow. Yeah,
So
that is
yeah,
lucky.
just walking to the supermarket, once a week or whatever now, or not now, but back in Sakura season, it was really fantastic. I just kept looking up the whole time and walking by.
That's
So
great. And then another page here, local mom and pop places that you like to go to. And is that karaage and mochi with the ichigo inside?
yeah, that was actually right in Tokyo before Tsukiji kind of. I think the outer market in Tsukiji is still around, but yeah, it was when I went there a few years back. And yeah, the fried up things, it's actually corn,
Mm-hmm.
sweet corn, and I believe ground up fish together
Mm-hmm.
with it. It was actually really, really good.
And that's the
Uh,
new Tsuchiji market, fish market. Is that
Tsukiji,
the new
uh,
area?
no, Tsukiji is just the old
The old one.
Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Before it moved over. I haven't been to the new area in Toyosu, actually.
I heard some people say that it was quite good. The outer markets were really good.
Mhm.
I haven't been to even to the original, so I have no idea. But it's nice
Yeah.
that you were able to document and
Mm.
these photos become part of Tokyo's heritage, right? Because now it
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. And yeah, I've seen just within the last 5 years that I've been here, I've seen whole areas of, tiny standing pubs and things getting demolished, and it's really a bummer to see
Yeah.
that. I really hope, but at the same time there are a lot of areas that are preserved and locals are fighting to keep them, and I really, really love and support seeing that happening. And I really hope that the greater Japan, everyone starts to see the value in keeping these old historical places alive and open,
Mm-hmm.
because that really does tell a story of Japan, and I think that's what draws a lot of people into
Definitely.
anywhere around the world is the unique heritage and culture that places have.
Definitely, yeah. Remodeling old buildings, keeping that traditional heritage has so much value, not only for the people running it, but for visitors and locals,
Yes.
many generations into the future, for sure. It might cost a lot more, right?
Yeah.
Also, you had a really interesting trip to Fukushima. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so last year in January, I got to go to Fukushima on a tour to the disaster area. And it was a very eerie experience. It was, yeah, I don't even know how to put it into words. I know I did a write up about it, so I'll have to revisit that myself. But we went there. It was a cold day, and there were probably about 20 or 30 of us going with the group, and we went to the disaster areas, and it truly is a place that has stopped in time. And the dishes and restaurants and things are just as it was 10 years ago. And yeah, and we went to the schools, which were flooded, and then we see this I think it was called like Hope Hill, this hill that people went up on to protect themselves, and there were memorials and graves there. And yeah, I think one of the most eerie moments was seeing those graves, and you could tell who were the people who passed because of the disaster, because you see the date as March 11th, and
Wow.
And some of them were young students and things. It is a really tough thing to talk about and think about, but it was really something. It was really eerie to see that. And oh yeah, we had these monitors that tracked the radiation level. So some areas we were going on the highway, and we weren't allowed to open the windows or anything because it was like the most radiated areas. But at the same time, I think there is a lot of misunderstanding about it. I think people think that if you even like step into the radiation zone, then your body is going to be affected by it. But actually, we were in the area for a few hours, and the tour guide told us that with just the few hours exposure, it's no different than taking the amount of radiation you'd get taking an airplane from like Tokyo to New York. So I could be kind of getting that wrong, but I know that it was something to do with airplanes and the same sort of exposure we get. So it wasn't very dangerous, and we weren't there overnight.
For visiting short periods of time, you're probably fine. It's really powerful, I'm sure, to see, like you said, the houses where people just left in a hurry, the school with the kids' shoes still in the boxes because they didn't have time to change. And then documenting it. You do such a nice job on your Instagram doing it as an Instagram story. So what's your Instagram tag if people want to have a look at that?
Yeah, it's next stop _ Nina. And I actually run quite a few different Instagram pages. So
okay.
That's
I think that's where I saw it. Yeah, next stop Nina. And I found this middle photo really powerful. You show what the street usually looked like with all the sakura blossoms, and then what it actually looked like after the disaster, and how it was all closed off and there was nothing there. And of course, I think that's something easy to forget, that a lot of people just think Fukushima, oh my God. But a lot of people who had visited the area before know how amazingly beautiful Fukushima was. And, so it really is very powerful experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it is just one area of Fukushima. The prefecture as a whole, there's still, most of the areas are safe, and people are living normal lives now. And so I hope people don't forget that, and think of Fukushima as another destination that they can go to.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really big area. And, being from Hiroshima for so many years, there's so much stigma attached to being from Hiroshima, being from Fukushima. And then now in coronavirus, we're having the same kind of stigma, right? Like, did you get a test?
Right.
Is it positive?
Right.
Even if it's negative, there's still stigma. I was talking with Rochelle Kopp the other day about that, people having kind of stigma about the virus and getting tested or not. And, there's a lot of cultural stuff there at play, which makes it really difficult for people who are trying to go through that really difficult thing, So
definitely.
I'm so glad you got to experience that. That's definitely a long topic for another day. But I know that your travel stories and everything really inspire a lot of people to think about Japan as a future destination. So thank you for all the great work you do, writing stories and taking photos on Instagram and doing your volunteer work. I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and if anyone ever wants to reach out to me to talk about anything in further detail, I'm always happy to have a conversation.
That's great. What's the best way to contact you? Through Instagram, you think?
Instagram, or I also have a Facebook page, just Nina M. Cataldo. So people can message me through my page as well.
That's awesome. So anybody interested in the HAFU group or about your travel stories or maybe hiring you to be a writer for them?
Yeah,
That's
I would
always
be more
good.
than happy with that.
Thank you so much, Nina. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Joy and everyone who tuned in today.
Thank you for everybody who
Thanks so much.
watched. Yeah, and please tune in again later, 5 o'clock today. We have Kevin Meyerson talking about energy efficiency house and living in Karuizawa and doing a takeout community. So that should be fun. Thanks so much, Nina. Bye,
Thank
everybody. See
you.
you later. Take care.
Bye.